Catherine Bearder, Liberal Democrat MEP for the South East. Can the EU help Oxford develop an Ebola cure?
It can, and it already has. The EU has been already funding the Jenner Institute in Oxford to work on a vaccine for malaria. So it's trained up the scientists and it's got the systems there in place. So when the World Health Organization was looking for somebody who can we ask to quickly start working on the Ebola vaccine, Jenner was absolutely placed in the best place to work on this vaccine.
I understand you've been round the Institute in Oxford and spoken to the team there. How do they feel that the EU can help then take that research forward, and are you kind of taking up their cause in a way?
Yes, the immediate study has been funded by the Wellcome Trust, and we're very pleased about that. But long-term studies require long-term funding, and from bodies like the EU, because the pharmaceutical companies can't make a lot of money out of vaccinating very poor people, so they don't put the investment in. So it is for public funds to go into this research in universities and other institutes like this. And so I'm really calling today for the EU to make sure that it continues and increases its funding to the scientific research on these new and unknown diseases that are beginning to strike from all parts of the globe.
I mean, this requires, this kind of research, I imagine, requires millions of pounds, maybe even hundreds of millions of pounds. Is the funding on offer from the EU which the team in Oxford can take up?
Well, the EU is the UK's largest, or the UK is the largest recipient of EU research funding. So it is a huge amount of money that we invest into research, not just in the UK but across the European Union, and institutes work together collaboratively across the EU, and that is funding that wouldn't normally get through to the universities. So yes, it helps, and it helps on a big scale, and builds up. And it isn't just that we just need money for the labs. It's the expertise that you're training scientists now for the future, who will be there on hand to help us with whatever the environment throws at us.
From your point of view, is there, in a way, two strands to this? On the one hand, getting money for Oxford, which presumably you'd see as good for the local economy, but then also on the other hand, the humanitarian crisis, if I can put it like that. There's a degree of urgency to act here.
Oh, absolutely, and the EU has already started in train to get out medical equipment, isolation units, and money to help train and support the frontline staff who are really in the most difficult situation. So that is one strand of EU funding. The long term, we need to be investing in our scientists and our laboratories, so that we are in a position, as we have been with Ebola, to switch our focus and say, this is now a crisis, we must now work on this. And so there are two strands. There's the long-term steady funding that the EU must continue to do, and that's what I'm calling for, but also the emergency response on the day wherever the diseases show themselves.
And indeed today a resolution going through the European Parliament, MEPs calling really for this kind of action to be stepped up.
Yes.
One of the things that I understand you got put into that was this call for research funding. Just explain a bit about that, and do you think that this resolution, this call from MEPs, will help focus minds?
Oh, well, I hope so, because I, having been around the Institute, I can see the valuable work that they do long term, and it needs long term funding. We're terribly grateful to the Wellcome Trust, which is a charity, who have initially funded this, but they will need paying back for this money, and I want to make sure that the resolution underpins the value and the necessity to keep funding long-term research. I'm delighted that we're putting things on the ground in an emergency situation. We hear President Obama is also sending troops now to West Africa, so that the world seems to have woken up. But if we just keep reacting and fighting fires, that won't be all we need. We need long-term research, and that means training scientists, that means kitting out the laboratories and doing that long-term science so that whatever is the next disease that comes along, we will be in a good position to fight it.
Let me just ask about the timings then. A resolution today, the research getting underway, the kind of next stage of research getting underway also today in Oxford. Is there a degree of urgency here, and do you think the EU is reacting fast enough?
I think so. The long-term funding is something that we have to keep pushing for at every opportunity, because it would be too easy to sort of move funding around because it's long-term and not seen, it's not something you come across every day. But I am a real supporter of putting money into research that commercial organisations don't normally do, because you can't make a lot of money out of funding for research and care and preventative work for very poor people. So it's down to us to put that public money in for the long-term, steady capacity building of our scientists and our institutions.